right, today I'd like to talk about a couple of things that happened with me and my now departed brother Joe as we traveled. This particular incident or incidents occurred on our trip to Poland. I think it was like 1998, Joe and I. We flew into Warsaw. We went from there to where the Michons lived in Grzybów and Podboże in southeastern Poland. From there we went to Zakopane and the Carpathians, and then we went to Auschwitz, and over westward across southern Poland to what used to be Breslau, is now Wrocław. We visited there, we turned north, went to Gniezno, Poznań, where the Berents, my grandmother, Veronica Perda, made her first Holy Communion. We visited that church. From there we went to the Baltic coast, visited Gdynia and Gdansk. Why do we went there? Goddamn if I know. Ha ha. Oh, all right. From there we traveled eastward. We went to the Wolfschanze. It was Hitler's eastern headquarters during World War II in what used to be East Prussia, which is now part of Poland. And from there we traveled back to Warsaw and completed our trip. Warsaw was kind of a neat place. The first thing that happened is we got there, got settled in our hotel room, and the one thing we noticed in Poland, not only Poland, all over the continent, you don't get ice like you do. You check into a motel room here anyway, you always got a pitcher of ice, or else you just go out and get it. So Joe got on his video camera and he recorded me calling down to room service in this hotel, and in Polish I ordered a tub of ice cubes. And Joe was recording this. He thought it was kind of clever, and he says, and there it is, Leon has actually ordered some ice. He is getting very adept at the Polish language. And then I just saw an opportunity to the worst pun in the world. And I says, yeah, people are coming to think of me as a very cunning linguist. And all you have to do is look in the dictionary under cunning linguist and you're going to get the point of the joke. And as we were showing that video to all our family, we had a little mini reunion at my sister's house. Nobody caught it except my cousin Carolyn, and she looked Karen, and she looked at me and she said, Leon, and I did a deadpan. What are you talking about? So the other thing that happened is, first of all, Joe says, I'm running out of gin for my martinis. He typically, pulled out the gin, the vermouth, poured himself a martini, then he got a beer, and he would sit and listen to the radio. And I didn't care to be around him when he was drinking, so I'd just go to sleep. But he says, I'm out of gin. So he called down, I guess you'd call it a maitre d' or the desk people, and they said, oh yeah, there's a liquor store just down a bit. So he went off, he comes back and he says, Leon, I got some Polish gin. I think they didn't really have any London dry gin or any of the classic kind of gins. And he says, I guess this is going to have to do. I said, okay, well, let me know how that works out. So sure enough, I guess it was maybe that evening, he goes and he makes a martini with his gin, and he made a big face. And I says, how was it? He says, well, it's gin. The next morning, we're getting ready. We had a rent car that we had to turn in at the airport, and he had made some markings on the side of the car. And they were stick figures of a woman, a man, and then there was a lady in a carriage, with a baby carriage, like victims of an accident, like fighter races. So he had to go and take that off, And we'd had a bunch of tar streaks along the bottom edge of the front door. So he had that Polish gin, and it took care of the cleaning process real good. Uh, okay, the next thing, we looked off in the distance from our room and we saw a big high-class hotel, multi-floor. I'm guessing like 20 floors. And it was a big Hilton. And we asked down at the desk, and they said, yeah, they had a real nice dining room, and they had a casino. Well, that settled the issue for me. So we went over, had a real nice dinner, and we went up to the casino. Now, Joe wasn't a gambler. It's unfortunate because he had good luck, but he just didn't care to do it. So he's sitting at the bar, and they have a little video poker machine there, and he's sitting and drinking. No craps table, but they did have a blackjack table. So I go to, now I'm playing blackjack, and I really wasn't paying any attention, but a woman sits up or stands up and she's next to me and she's kind of pressing against me, and I just don't like my personal space getting invaded, so I'm moving away. And I looked at her, and she's got this red sequin dress on, but she was not pretty, not pretty. If she was, I didn't think about a hooker, she was in the wrong business. Not being uncharitable, she just didn't look the part. Well, the dealer sensed that and shoot her off the table. And I didn't think anything of it. And I look over across the casino over to the bar where my brother is sitting, and he's looking at me and he's grinning like a jackass eating briars. I have no idea what the hell is going on. So I continued to play, and I guess I got distracted enough that I made a real bonehead play. Little lesson in blackjack here. I was dealt 2 sevens. And one option you have in blackjack is you can separate those 2 cards and play them separately. And it's always the choice, because a 14 is a bad thing. You have to take a hit, because the dealer's going to have at least 16. And if you don't, and most of the cards have values of 10, but anything with a value of 8, 9, or 10, you do that to 14 and you bust it. So you split the 2 cards. That's just, and I guess I must have been distracted, and I says, hit me. So she throws out a third 7. I made 21 with 3 sevens. And it was then that it hit me that what a stupid thing I had done and how lucky I was. All of a sudden bells start flashing, and a guy runs over and he hands me a bottle of champagne, because that was kind of a deal you got if anybody ever made a natural 21. So I look at it, and it's a Hungarian champagne. So later I told Joe I think it was made with paprika. All right, so I got lucky. We got back to the hotel, and he says, hey, what did you think of that woman that came over to you at the blackjack table? And I said, well, I don't know. She was leaning up against me, and I just felt a little uncomfortable. It turns out that, I told her, so she wasn't pretty. And the bartender shoot her off. She was a hooker. And he says, yeah, I know. And what do you mean you know? He says, well, I was sitting at the bar, and she came over and sat to me and was talking to me. She was propositioning me. So then he explained in Polish what he had said. He said, ja nie chcę, I don't want ten chłop does. She pointed to me and says, that man would. So she went over to me, and of course he's watching the whole process and had the big joke on me. I said, all right. So that was one in his box, and it took me almost 2 years to finally catch him in a place where I could reach up in his scrotum and squeeze like that. And that's an incident for another story. But Warsaw, one other thing happened in Warsaw. When we first landed, uh, we we checked into a hotel, trying to get our bearings, and we wanted to go to the equivalent of the Polish AAA office and get tourist information on Poland. So we checked with the maitre d' at the hotel and says, yeah, there is some kind of travel organization, state-run. We had this big map of Warsaw that we got with AAA here in the States. And so we start driving, and of course the street, there are no street signs. Where they're located is on a corner of a building. They'll have ulici something to, so you'd have to come alongside a building and look up and see. So now Joe's got the map folded, and it's such a large scale that I'm driving along, and he's, oh, wait a minute, and he unfolds this map, and he's refolding it back to the new space. And, you know, we don't drive more than a mile, then he's got to refold the map. And he had got thoroughly frustrated, and, you know, and I'm just sitting back enjoying the hell out of that. Because that's the kind of stuff that didn't bother me. And I just had a place where I could stick it to him. So we eventually got there and found out that it didn't provide much of what we were looking for. But just to watch him trying to fold this huge map into little readable segments was worth the price of admission. Joe, I miss you. I lost him. Unfortunately, I was in a hospital at the time when he passed, so I wasn't able to make his funeral. But it's oftentimes now I think of an incident that happened, something like this, and it just strikes my funny bone, and I just kind of raise my eyes to heaven and say, thank you, Joe, for being in my life to be able to share these kind of experiences. And I hope that whoever watches this, you know, all of the kin, the grandchildren, the nieces and nephews, hope they get a little different picture of Joe then, because he could tend to come off very abrasive. Thank you for your time. Very much appreciate it. Uncle Leon saying good.